Okay, everybody, we'll go from the beginning again. Welcome to Let's Drink with Formal Shark. We've moved from Thirsty Thursdays to Wednesdays. So this week what we're going to do is be answering some of your questions. These are a few of you have asked some questions on the old Facebook. So what we'll do is we will answer them. And I will try and keep an eye on the socials as well to see if anybody is talking on there. But while we're all here, the most important thing is let's have a drink first. So what am I drinking here? Well, it is the Wildcard beer. It is 9%. It is a sour beer. Now, I think sour beers are great for people as an introduction for certain people. So if you like ciders and things like that, but you don't like wines, then it can be quite a good idea to maybe try a sour beer. Sour beers, I think people seem to love them or hate them. You get a lot of people that will negatively go, oh, I don't like them. So we'll have a sniff. I'm getting very much a sweetness from this. Not much else. Slight like berryish, like blackberry flavour smell coming through. Been a long time since I've had to try and drink a beer and then explain it. Yeah, you're getting like a blackberry-ish sort of like dark fruit sort of sour taste to it, and then it comes down to quite a nice mellow taste, mediumly sour. So yeah, it was £3.50. From Beowulf, that I don't think is bad for a 9% beer, and it's 330 CLs, because it's a Belgian beer. Belgium do some fantastic beers. But let's get on with the main bit of the show, and that is the questions. So, Carl asked, how much beer on average can one man drink without becoming alcohol dependent? And when is it deemed okay to have your first beer? And also, is beer o'clock a real time? So first, I'm going to answer the bit about becoming alcohol dependent. And to be honest, it's quite subjective, this stuff, so bear with us with some of this. So alcohol dependence often starts as a psychological rather than a physical addiction. For example, getting into the habit of sharing a bottle of red wine with your partner every night. Becoming physically dependent would result in lots of factors like your build, your genetics, and your mental health and what's going on around you at the time of the increased drinking. However, the government recommends something called units, and it recommends you have only 14 units a week, and they should be spread over 3 days or more if you're drinking more than 14 units, so that you're not just binging it all on Saturday night. You know, well, I'm only doing 14 units, but I'm getting bladdered on a Saturday night. You've got to spread them out if you're going to use up your full allocation. You don't have to use them up. Don't be under any illusions. And that unit below just shows what one unit is. And the one we're important of, a standard beer at 4% is 250ml. So what does that equate to with craft beer, or a tangible thing that we can think of? So let's do it in punk IPAs. So it would be, if you do the maths, it is 7.77 punk IPAs. So I've done 7.5 because you'd have to share it with somebody. If you want more information on this, I'd recommend going to the NHS website and Drink Aware and things like that. You can do quizzes and they always tell you you're an alcoholic. So, that is that one. So the next bit he asked was, when is it deemed okay to have your first beer? And is beer o'clock a real time? So for the first beer, monks used to drink a strong beer called a double bock for breakfast when they were fasting to give them the needs to get through the day. So if it's good enough for God botherers, is it good enough for us? I don't know. However, I don't think that it is appropriate to have whiskey with your breakfast. Just it doesn't pair very well with the cornflakes. You're better off having a breakfast beer. The whiskey goes sharp with the milk. Beer o'clock as a time. I think that's just whenever you fancy a beer, to be honest. But Carl had another question. What's the best beer that will help against weight gain? Well, unfortunately, beer is one of the worst alcohols for weight gain. You've got a lot of different, the grains and stuff still got a lot of the nutrients and stuff still in that. And it is just, that's why people have a beer belly. So the alcohol, if you're drinking pure alcohol, it's far better drinking a whiskey or a vodka or something like that that's got less in it. But I'm a beer drinker. Everybody, I support beer. Beer is what I champion. So if you are wanting to be on a health kick, then what I would recommend is a lower alcohol or an alcohol-free beer. There's some fantastic ones on the market now for the alcohol and no alcohol. Brewdog have just done an absolutely fantastic range that they brought out this year for. There's Adam's Ghost Ship. There's also lots of just random bottles of breweries. I've not tried these ones, but I will be trying them at some point. And what I tend to do is I use them to supplement my normal drinking. So instead of drinking all week normal beers, I'll have a normal beer and then maybe one of these a different day. And then it means that I can keep my hop habit up without becoming an alcoholic. So Claire asked, I'm not into strong beers like the dark ones. I'm more of an IPA girl. But the dark ones look so good. Give me options of dark ones that aren't too strong. So I think the best way to answer this question is to go over how a beer is made so you understand what flavours go into it, and then some different styles so that you can think about where on that fits your taste needs and what you like out of beer and things like that. And hopefully it'll just inform you more when you go to a bar or you're buying offline some decent beers. It's hard to recommend a particular beer because breweries are changing them all the time, and that's thingy. So first we'll look at how a beer is made up. So the first key component is malt. So basically what you first do when you're making beer is you get a big bath of water and you put your malted barley in. And you give this a nice long bath. And this changes and this converts the barley starches into sugars. And you get this sort of like Horlicks basically, this malty liquid that's now got a lot of sugars and a lot of different flavours in it. And the sort of flavours that the malt's going to give you is malty flavour, that's quite obvious, biscuity, bread-like, grain, rich, quite deep flavours, roast, caramel, cookie-like, coffee-ish, molasses, smoked, sweet, burnt. And how they get them flavours, it's the same thing, it's still that, but it's just cooked and cooked and cooked more till eventually get the really dark grain. And what they do is they put, most of the time, your pale malt like that will make up most of your beer, and then they'll add some sort of darker malts in to give you that darker, and the more darker malts they put in, the darker the beer. So the next important ingredient, and especially for flavour, is hops. These are the bad boys that give you the bitterness. They also have preserving properties, and that's sort of why they were put in. And often in craft beers, this will give you a lot of like citrus and fruity flavours. So the sort of flavours you're going to get from this is piney, citrus, grapefruit, earthy, musty, spicy, sharp, bright, fresh, herbal, lemony, newly mowed lawn you might get out of it, aromatic, floral, spring-like, spruce-like, you might get juniper-like. We all know about juniper from last week. Minty, grassy, all them like really, really nice flavours. Your next one's your yeast. Your yeast does the magic, and what it does, it eats up all the sugar, and then it poos out, something like that, the alcohol. You're going to get some flavours from that, especially on beers where they've left it in, or because sometimes with some beers, they'll sort of try and take out as much of the yeast as possible. Other times, especially live beers, they'll have yeast in. From that, you're going to get freshly baked bread, clove-like, bubblegum, sort of tropical. So you still get tropical and fruity flavours from the yeast of different type banana. You might even get stuff like horse blankety and earthy and musty, especially from sort of sour beers or naturally fermented beers. The last, and what makes up most of your drink, is water. 90 to 95% of beer is water. Before clever scientists, where beer was brewed, it would affect the style. Before, basically, sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. I'm trying to look at my phone, I can't do that. So before scientists could affect how the water was just at source, where your beer was brewed was a massive factor, and that's why certain styles would happen in certain regions, and it's why places like Burton-on-Trent became absolutely famous for brewing. Now, there's other things that could be added to your beer, so that they're the four ones that will definitely be added. After that, you might get stuff like wheat might be added for a wheat beer, rye, oats, rice, corn, fruits, coffee, sugars. So this could be to give extra flavour, extra mouthfeel, or just because it's a cheap product. So now we're going to go into the styles. I should say this is a very broad overview and simplification of all of this. You have lagers, so this is your pilsners, your hells. Lagers don't have to be yellow, fizzy, mass-produced piss. It should be a clean drink, perfect for a hot summer's day. It's lighter in body, colour, drier and crisper. Its medium to high hop bitterness dominates and also has a clean fermentation profile. The ABV should be around about normal. The IBU, and this is stands for International Bittering Unit, and this is how bitter your beer is going to be. So if you don't like bitter beers, if you like bitter beers, this is a really good one to look to see how bitter it's going to be, and if you're going to like it, or if you need to go running scared. And for a lager, it's not going to be much. It's going to be 8 to 26, and the colour's straw to light. So just a quick side note: what is a lager, and what's an ale? So you have two types of beer. You have lager beers and ale beers, and it's all to do with what yeast's used. Ale yeast likes to ferment at a warmer temperature at about 12 degrees, and the yeast does all its business at the top of the fermentation barrel. A lager yeast doesn't like it as hot, and they want to be brewed at between 4 and 7 degrees, and it's the opposite of the ale yeast, and it does all its business at the bottom. It lies at the bottom and does all its eating and pooing. So we'll get back onto the beers. That's again a simplified version of that. Pale ales are refreshing, hoppy with a slight malty backbone to provide balance. Big hop characters from high levels of hopping, especially with the American pale ales, tend to be a lot more hoppier than the British ones. So these can go from, so the ABV again is normal, IBU is 30 to 50, and the colour is light golden to light amber. So it's a little bit, can be a little bit darker than a lager. We then have the IPA, that's I think the most popular fashion, especially in the craft beer. It's increased I'll put my teeth back in. It's increased hopping compared to a pale ale, as it used to be used as a natural preservative to last long boat journeys to India. It was perfect to be brewed in Burton because of the water there having high sulfate level, or sulfate water. It's hoppy and bitter, moderately strong American ales. Balances its hop forwardness with a clean fermenting profile, dry finish and some malt characters to slightly balance with the bitterness. Hop flavour reflects the characteristics of American and New World hop variety. So hops are a bit like grapes, and where they come from have massive impacts on the flavour. In the UK, they tend to be like quite spicy and earthy. In America and New Zealand and the New World, that tends to be where you get like the fantastic sort of citrus and fruity flavoured hops that we now know and love. The ABV is normal. Your your IBU is 40 to 120, so you've got a massive range there, and 120 is very, very, very hoppy, and your colour is golden to amber. That brings us on to the amber ales, and amber is a hoppy and moderate strength beer with a caramel malty characteristics and a citrus hop character from New World and American hop varieties. It's medium to dark crystal malts is used to give it the amber colour and caramel malty sweetness. It's low to normal ABV. Its IBU is 25 to 45, and guess what? It's amber in colour, light amber to dark amber. And on your road to going on to darker beers from the IPA, this is probably a good one to start with. It's not going to be a million miles away from the IPA. You're not going to get a massive shock. It's not going to be something that is completely new to you, but it's going to give you that like a little bit more into the world of malts. You also have a brown ale. It's similar in appearance to porters, but without the roasted flavour. It has a malty caramel characteristic even, and is slightly sweet. Hop flavours are low to none with moderate fruity esters. It used to be that there was a bit of a north-south divide with them, and that the south used to have like lighter ones, and we would have stronger, heavier, more alcoholic ones. Obviously the most famous is Brown Ale, and that's the brown ale. Going on to sort of your dark beers and your stouts, to keep it simple, and because I didn't do a graphic for it, we're going to lump porters a little bit into this. To be honest, unless we're going to get really geeky, a porter tends to be just not as strong as a stout. In historical times, stout was just a word to mean strong. So stout was just a stout porter. So Guinness is a stout porter. It can have chocolate and other dark specialty malts, black in colour with pronounced roasted flavours, similar to coffee. Balance can be quite even to very bitter, with balanced versions having a slightly sweetened and the bitter versions being quite dry. It's got low to normal alcohol, but certain versions like your Imperial can be right up there into the silly amounts. And that's quite a good word to know, is Imperial tends to mean like strong. So you might get an Imperial IPA, you might also get a double IPA that means a stronger beer, and you'll see that in the IBV, the alcohol, and it's brown to black in colour. So back to Claire's question. It seems like a while since we're there. Maybe look out for some more beers like an amber, a brown ale, or a porter. If you're there, ask the bartender. The bar staff should be really good, and they will be quite happy to guide you and help you. They'll probably give you little samples to taste. Some places that I know will guide you well, and I would recommend in Newcastle is Arch 2, also have a curry there, it's fantastic. Box Social, the Free Trade Inn, Tyne Bank Brewery, Bink Bank Brewery, Brewdog, Wylam. The list goes on. Full Circle Brewing, and they'll see you right. If you're going to Durham, then you've got the Holy Grail, the Hop Knocker, and Station House that will all help you on your way. When all this is over, we need to support these different businesses. They really are going to need our help. Some of them are doing some online deliveries, like Pip Stop are doing local ones. So if you're in the local area, if you're from Consett like I am, or Durham, Newcastle, where they are doing orders like it's only £20 and then you get a free delivery to there, or if it's a bit further, £40. It's fantastic for getting your beers to your house without having to have orders and maybe having to wait forever. So definitely support these businesses. Go out. If you're in the supermarket, try and pick up your more crafty beers at the moment. They're the breweries that need it. Your big boys aren't going to go out of business. Your little boys can. Even places like Brewdog are struggling at the moment. A good way to do it is by doing a beer tasting. You could host that yourself. Just buy some beers offline. You can go to the supermarket, go to the craft beer, pick a few different styles, share them between your friends. What I normally say is a 330ml bottle goes between 3 to 4 people. You could also check out my company, Cool Cat Bars. We also do beer tastings. We've got a place in Consett that we can do them, but we can also hopefully do them other places as well. and that'll keep you up to date with what we're doing. We've got all sorts of stuff that I was planning to do, but unfortunately this pesky coronavirus stopped them, or has at least put them on pause. So hopefully they'll come out happening late this year, early next year. And if you keep on their Facebook, then you'll get a lot of information. So, Adam Boucher asked, what is dry hopping? I'm just going to check my phone to see if anybody's on the old messagey bobs. And by the looks of it, there isn't, so that's all right. What is dry hopping? It is when hops are added to the brew after the fermentation is done. This is often done with pale ales and IPAs, and this gives you a really amazing hoppy flavour. So basically, once the beer's been brewed, it's done its fermentation, it's alcoholic and everything, you then add some more hops, let them sit in there for however long, and then that will give you it will take the oils out of there, and it'll give you more aromatic flavours and smells. Hops act differently at different points when you put it in the beer. So when you're first doing what's called the boil, where you're boiling like mad, if you put the hops in there, you're going to get the bitterness from them. That's where the bitterness comes. At the end, you might add some finishing. Ooh, that beer's coming up. Some finishing hops and stuff like that. And dry hopping in a very big brewery would be done with something like a hop gun or a hop cannon. Also, he asks, what's the difference between cask and keg? These are just two formats of beer. Like you have bottles and you have cans, you have casks and you have kegs. So a cask is the more special one in terms of it's still got yeast in there, and it's going to do what's called a second fermentation. It's going to get its gases, its bubbliness from a second fermentation. It comes out from the brewery and goes to the bar, and it has to settle in the cellar of the bar and get all ready and just sit there, mellow out, and do some finishing. At the point that it's just right, the barman or the cellar person comes down and will tap it for a day, and then the next day they will come and put it all up, and then either just a tap on the front of the beer, like they do at the station house, it's really cool, or on the old-fashioned hand pumps, like that, and that'll draw it up. And there's no added gas to that. The disadvantages of it is, one, if it's not kept well, it tastes minging, and it has a short shelf life. So my recommendation is go somewhere like you trust, like all the places I said earlier. If they do cask, then it's going to be good quality. Keg is the beer doesn't do any second fermentation in there, and that is pushed out by gases, and you add extra gas into the mix as well. And through there you might add different gases like nitrogen and stuff like that. So that's the difference between keg and cask. So you could support us. There's a few different ways. Two of them are £5 off Flavourly if you use that link, and 50% off your first order of beer 52. And what they do is, if people sign up to them, then they will give us more beer. Simple as that. They're not associated with us or anything. This is just something that everybody can do once you sign up. You can give all your friends these links, but what this does is this gives us beer, meaning we can spend more money on the production and more money on food as well. It's quite important at the moment in these strapped, cashed times. There's donate also on our website with some stuff that we might be able to give you from that. Whoa, I've just looked on and there's loads of people asked some questions. So anyway, that's that bit. Let's go on to the last one. You can get us on the social medias, formalshark.co.uk, formalshark.com/formalshark, at Let's Drink _FS. So that's that, and back to me. So we've had some people say hi. We've had Nicola say hi, Adele. It's minging Phil. I don't know what that is that's minging, but it could be whatever beer I was on about or whatever. Don't like any lager. See, lager, to me, unless you're just not a beer drinker. Good quality lagers mean a lot, and Foster's and Carling for me from Adele. We'll have to get you onto something a bit better, show you some really good lagers, because the flavour profile is far better. I can see myself in the mirror from like a few minutes ago. That's really disconcerting. So hope you've enjoyed this. I'll be coming back to work out what we're going to do next week. Give us any feedback, and yeah, if you've got any other questions, ask us. We'll either come back to them another time if there's anything I haven't described enough, or I was a bit hazy with. Tell us. I can either go into more detail another show, or just tell you online, or just put you to something a little bit more valid. So, cheers, stay safe, look after yourselves, wash your hands, don't go out unless you can to the shops, all that mumbo jumbo. Chat to your friends, chat to people. Everybody needs social, and that's the main thing. So, cheers.